North Korea is once again criticizing the U.S. over its approach to denuclearization. Today, North Korea's foreign minister said the Trump administration's handling of negotiations is alarming. That statement came after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo urged countries to keep sanctions on the North until denuclearization takes place. The president so far has not weighed in on the latest back and forth. He's currently in Bedminster, New Jersey. Later tonight, the president will head to Ohio to hold a campaign-style rally to support congressional candidate Troy Balderson. It'll be the president's third campaign event this week. On Tuesday, he was in Tampa, Florida, where he endorsed Governor Rick Scott for Senate. And on Thursday, he was in Pennsylvania, stumping for Congressman Lou Barletta, who's looking to unseat Democratic incumbent Bob Casey. Niall Stanage is a White House columnist for The Hill, and he joins me now from Washington. Okay, now, what a busy week it's been for the president. What do you think really is the central message that he's trying to send at these rallies?
One of the central messages, Rena, is simply that Republican voters should turn out of loyalty to him. The president, and I think people close to him, believe that the midterm elections, and indeed the special election in Ohio, should be driven by the idea that Republican voters will come to his defense. They know there's going to be a lot of voter enthusiasm on the Democratic side, and many people around the president feel that making this election into a referendum on him could actually drive out Republican turnout.
Now, does the president have any reason to be concerned about Ohio? I mean, this is a state he won by 8 percentage points.
Yeah, there is some reason to be concerned. I mean, the president's popularity has dipped in a number of states that he has won. This special election is in a district that has been in Republican hands for some years. It is, I think, overall still expected that the Republican candidate will prevail there. But the mere fact that it is a somewhat competitive race is a little bit of a warning sign, not just for the president, but also for the Republican Party.
Well, speaking of Ohio, on Friday night, the president took aim at Lebron James after James told CNN that Mr. Trump was using sports to divide the nation. And then he tweeted, LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. He made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do. I like Mike, referring, of course, to Michael Jordan. Is the president actually proving LeBron's point at this point? And why do this now?
Well, why do this now isn't something that I have a good answer to, I'm afraid, Rena. The president gets into these scraps. He makes these fights. I think to very many people across party lines, these seem unbecoming to the dignity of the office. It is also notable that he seems to cast aspersion on the intelligence of African-American figures more so than white figures, which is dubious to say the very least. So this kind of fight, I don't really see what he's trying to do there except kick back, as he almost always does when he feels that he himself has been criticised.
Sometimes we just don't know, Niall. We just don't know, and that's just
Absolutely.
How it is. Now, I do want to ask you, though, about something we do know, your interview with former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon. Did you ask him how often he speaks to the president? Are they still in touch? And what does he think the strategy needs to be ahead of midterms?
No, Bannon acknowledges that they aren't in touch directly anymore, and that goes back to the storm over the Fire and Fury book earlier this year. Steve Bannon was quoted in that book making a number of unflattering comments about people around the president, including members of his family. Bannon would argue that his view can still be heard in the president's circle because he has a lot of contacts there, but he's one of the people who makes the argument that we were talking about earlier, Rena, the idea that making the midterms an impeachment referendum, if you like, is a way to make sure that Republicans come out to vote. He would hope that they would do so and therefore counteract the kind of intensity that we're seeing and hearing about on the Democratic side.
Meanwhile, now I want to ask you, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is warning Russia, China and other countries against violating sanctions against North Korea. These comments are coming after a UN panel of experts said North Korea has not stopped the nuclear and missile program. How big of a setback is this for the Trump administration?
It's a significant setback because clearly President Trump was making a lot of his famous summit with Kim Jong-un. He has argued that his new approach has advanced the cause of peace and denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. So any evidence that runs counter to that is a problem for the Trump administration. Obviously, Secretary of State Pompeo making quite a forceful case, but we don't know whether it will also be an effective case. And if it proves ineffective, then obviously that calls into question the president's whole strategy in this matter.
We also know Pompeo delivered the president a reply to Kim Jong-un's letter. Do we know what was in it, what he said?
Honestly, I'm not clear exactly what was said there. I mean, the relationship between those two men is a very complicated one, as we know. It's not all that long ago, really, that President Trump was deriding Kim Jong-un as little rocket man. Then he decided that Kim was sort of in favour of progressing peace. So that's been a very volatile relationship.
All right, Niall Stanage, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Rena.